Good afternoon and welcome back to North Carolina and my European kitchen. It is a beautiful day here today. The weather is warm and sunny and it's just the most perfect day to cook my smoked salmon tartlets. Okay, so to make these wonderful tartlets we're going to need some equally wonderful ingredients. The first ingredient I want to tell you about a little bit. I love to make pastry. I make all my own pastry, but there is one pastry that I cheat with, and that's puff pastry. It is such a hard process to make it that it is so much easier to buy that frozen stuff and defrost it, and it is just delicious. So here we are. These are the ingredients. I have the puff pastry, frozen and defrosted. I have a couple of eggs. They're actually large eggs. Some wonderful, wonderful dill. It's a beautiful herb, has a wonderful subtle flavour, and it goes so well with smoked salmon. I have a mixture of heavy cream and milk. I have 3 ounces of heavy cream and 1 ounce of milk mixed together. I have some cayenne pepper. Don't worry, we're not going to use all of the cayenne pepper in that, just a pinch to spice up the dish. I have the queen of all fish, smoked salmon, absolutely delicious, and of course the king of cream cheeses, Philadelphia cream cheese. So let's start making these tartlets. First thing I'm going to do is line some individual tartlet cases that have been pre-buttered. So I've got my puff pastry here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a small chunk off for the first case. I have my tried and tested old marble rolling pin from England. It's well worn, it got a bit battered in the journey over here 6 years ago, but I can't bear to part with it. Just going to roll the pastry out. I don't particularly like puff pastry thick. I think sometimes it can be a bit too greasy, so I like to roll it out a little bit thinner. And that way I feel also it cooks better when you're cooking these tartlets. So once it's rolled out, just simply place it into the tartlet pan. These tartlet pans have removable bottoms, so that makes it easy to get out when it's cooked. There we go. And a nice little trick to get the pastry off the top is just to press down, and the edges of the pan actually act like a little razor blade, and oops, if I do it right, they come off. Et voila, there we go, a little tartlet pan. Okay, so let's assemble these tarts. First of all, the thing I like to do when I'm cooking any quiche or any tartlets, I like to actually baste the bottom of the tartlets with some egg wash. But that does, it actually seals the pastry and stops the liquid from going through the pastry as it cooks. There we go, just into that one too. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do around the edges to give the pastry a nice golden colour when it comes out of the oven. So that's the first thing we do. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take about 2 ounces of Philadelphia cheese. I'm just going to eyeball this because I get a good feel. That's about 2 ounces. And I am going to incorporate the dill into the Philadelphia cheese. And all I do is I just take some of the dill. You can chop it if you want to, but I like big chunks of dill. It has great flavour. So I just pop about, and I'm going to pop about 2 tablespoons of dill into the Philadelphia cheese. So here we go, just give it a good old mix, and you can see that the Philadelphia is just going nice and tinged with green. If you don't think it's enough and it's personal preference, you can add some more. I think that's a lot. Dill, when it's cooked, actually does have a lot of flavour. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take half of the cream cheese mixture and I'm going to put it into the bottom of the tartlet. There we go. Just making sure that you get an even amount of dill in both. And then I'm actually going to spread that around the bottom of the tartlets, and then when it's cooked it's going to melt and become a yummy base for the smoked salmon. There we go. It's a bit slippery and a bit tricky, but we get there in the end. There we go. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, let's just get rid of that. And we can move on to adding our smoked salmon. So what I've done is I've actually chopped up the smoked salmon, and I'm going to put that onto the top of the cream cheese. So I'm just going to distribute. This is 3 ounces of smoked salmon between 2 tartlets. So obviously if you're making more, you can just double the quantity. I love to have lots of smoked salmon. I think it's always disappointing if you go somewhere and they're stingy on the main ingredient. So I do like lots of smoked salmon in my tartlets. After all, you want to taste the salmon. You don't want to just taste the egg and the cream. There we go. So, lots of smoked salmon. Get a nice squidge down. Love to squidge things down. Love to feel food between my fingers. And we are ready to add the next bit. The next thing we do is we break our egg into the milk and cream mixture. And what we're going to do is make a little basis for like a quiche. We'll just pop that away in the bin. We're just going to give it a little whisk to incorporate it. And then before we pour this over the dishes, I'm just going to add my little kick. I love cayenne pepper with smoked salmon. I do a wonderful smoked salmon pasta, and my last little bit that I add to it is cayenne pepper. That just kicks it up, gives it a little bit of heat. If you don't like cayenne pepper, you can leave it out. Personally, I think it adds some dimension to the dish. Then we simply are going to pour the mixture over the dishes. So the last thing to do is I'm going to pop them on a baking tray just to avoid any spillages in the oven. And I'm going to put them into a preheated oven of 375 degrees and cook them for about 20-25 minutes. And by that time they should be bubbling and golden. Okay, let's pop them in. So 25 minutes have passed and I'm going to take these gorgeous things out of the oven now. And here we go, just so you can see how beautiful they look. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a couple of minutes just to cool down so I can get them out of the pots and onto our display that we're going to show you. So what more could you want? I've plated them up on a plate of arugula, or rocket as we call it in Europe. My daughter's gone out and picked some beautiful yellow spring flowers. I have a nice glass of Chardonnay to drink, and let's see what they look like inside. Absolutely just full of beautiful, beautiful cream cheese and smoked salmon. I don't know if you can see that. And the dill is there. I'm just going to taste it. Wonderful. Cheers, and I'll see you next time.